while the entire royal ballroom waited for Prince Nathaniel to dance with his blind fiancée. He refused to even touch her hand. Hundreds of aristocrats watched. Lady Sophia stand alone beneath Buckingham Palace chandeliers, her hand still reaching toward the man she was supposed to marry. Then quietly, coldly, the prince said, "Perhaps it's better if you sit this dance out." Soft laughter spread through the ballroom, and less than 30 minutes later, the same palace would be crying while listening to the blind woman play piano alone in the dark. The winter gala at Buckingham Palace was supposed to be perfect. Crystal chandeliers glowed like gold above the ballroom while Europe's wealthiest families laughed beside orchestra music and flowing champagne. But the atmosphere changed the moment Lady Sophia entered the room. Her silver gown shimmered beautifully beneath the lights, elegant and graceful despite the ivory cane resting lightly in her hand. The whispers started immediately. "That's the prince's blind fiancée? Poor man. How tragic for the royal family." Sophia heard every word. People always assumed blind women noticed less. In truth, Sophia noticed everything. Awkward silences, the pity hidden inside polite voices. The embarrassment Prince Nathaniel tried desperately to hide every time she stood beside him publicly. Their engagement had never been about love. It was arranged to strengthen political alliances between royal families, and Nathaniel hated it, not because Sophia was cruel, not because she embarrassed him intentionally, but because every time he saw the cane in her hand, he felt ashamed. As the orchestra began the traditional opening waltz, the ballroom slowly fell silent. Every royal gala began with the future royal couple dancing. First, Sophia turned gently toward Nathaniel and lifted her hand toward him with a soft, nervous smile. She had practiced this dance for weeks, counted every step carefully in her mind, even without sight. She wanted tonight to be perfect for him. The entire ballroom watched, and Nathaniel hesitated. That tiny hesitation alone was enough to make Sophia's smile weaken slightly. Then came the words that shattered her completely. "Perhaps it's better if you sit this dance out." The silence afterward felt brutal. Sophia's hand remained suspended awkwardly in the air, while nobles exchanged uncomfortable glances around the ballroom. One duchess quietly smirked behind her fan. Then Nathaniel made it worse. He stepped past Sophia, and moments later began dancing with another noblewoman beneath the chandeliers instead. Several aristocrats laughed softly. Someone whispered, "At least this dance looks normal." Sophia lowered her hands slowly. Her fingers trembled slightly around the cane now, but somehow she still forced herself to smile. "Of course," she whispered quietly. And that somehow hurt even more. An older servant approached her nervously. A few moments later, "Would you like me to escort you back to your room, my lady?" Sophia stayed silent for several seconds, then asked softly, "Is the palace music room empty tonight?" The servant blinked. Double quotes, "Yes, my lady." 20 minutes later, while the ballroom continued celebrating downstairs, soft piano notes suddenly echoed through Buckingham Palace. At first, nobody paid attention. Then, the music deepened. The melody became hauntingly emotional, fragile, beautiful, painfully raw. Conversations slowly stopped. Dancers froze mid-step. Even the aristocrats who mocked Sophia earlier now turned toward the distant music with confused expressions, because whoever was playing upstairs sounded heartbroken. Nathaniel frowned immediately. Then froze. He recognized the song instantly. Sophia once told him she only played that melody when she felt lonely. Without realizing why, the prince slowly left the ballroom and followed the music through the silent palace corridors until he reached the grand music room. The doors stood slightly open, and inside, Sophia sat alone beneath pale moonlight at the royal piano, her sightless eyes remained, softly lowered while her fingers moved flawlessly across the keys with breathtaking elegance. But it wasn't the perfection of the music that shattered everyone listening. It was the pain inside. Every note sounded like rejection, like humiliation. Like someone quietly trying not to break apart in front of the people who hurt her. Servants stood silently outside the doorway, crying. Even palace guards lowered their eyes emotionally. Nathaniel himself could barely breathe, because suddenly, for the first time since their engagement began, he truly saw her. Not the blindness, not the cane. Then Sophia began singing softly while continuing to play. I kept reaching for your hand, even when you kept letting go. Nathaniel's chest tightened painfully. That line wasn't part of the original song. She added it herself, and somehow that hurt far more than anger ever could. Sophia finished the final note gently. Silence swallowed the palace. No applause. No movement. Only tears. Then slowly, Sophia turned her face toward the doorway, even without sight. She somehow knew Nathaniel was standing there. Her voice trembled faintly. Did I embarrass you again tonight, Your Highness? The question completely destroyed him, because suddenly, Nathaniel realized something horrifying. The woman he had been ashamed to dance beside had just moved an entire palace to tears without ever seeing their faces. For the first time in his life, the prince felt ashamed of himself. Slowly, Nathaniel stepped toward her. The entire hallway watched silently as he reached for Sophia's hand at last. But this time, Sophia gently pulled her hand away first. Not cruelly, not angrily, just quietly hurt. And somehow, that hurt the prince far more than rejection ever could. If this royal drama touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional palace stories filled with heartbreak, forbidden love, betrayal, and unforgettable royal secrets.